Congratulations, guys. I think we finally arrived on the scene as a soccer nation. With our own controversy between Gregg and Gio Reyna, I think we're here. But really, though, this is a pretty juicy one. This comes after this weekend, Sunday, whenever Gregg put out in a summit that he handled a leadership issue while he was at the World Cup in Qatar. And he didn't name the name of the player, but he said essentially, there was a lack of effort and he had to call on the team leadership to sort it out. Either way, it resulted in the player almost going home. And almost immediately after this, the fans began to put two and two together. They knew it was Gio Reyna, not surprising anybody. But the reports were rather salacious. I thought there was a situation coming into the tournament where he was injured. And then as things play on, we don't see him in the Wales game. Jordan Morris comes on instead of him. He gets angry, throws his shin guards. And then afterwards you have reports from Eric Winalda saying that, Gregg lied to the media and told Gio to lie as well. And then Gio wasn't having it, leading to a situation where, they had a disagreement and the players had to get involved. So apparently this was all squashed after Gio Reyna apologized to the team and the team forgave him and, it's all good. We still only see him for a few minutes during the World Cup. And afterwards, obviously, everyone's screaming, why? What happened to Gio? Why don't we play Gio? We're struggling. And, obviously he got 45 minutes in the game versus the Netherlands, but that wasn't enough. And so then Gregg releases this report, and it's kind of a domino effect of you have other reports coming out from sources saying that there was a vote. The vote was 12-13. Then on Twitter, everyone is kind of making their stance known, saying, Gregg out, this is unacceptable. But then you have Taylor Twellman, who comes out and he says, per a source close to the team, there was no vote. Gio was, obviously, there was an issue. It was taken up between the coaching staff. And then come Monday morning, Gio releases a statement on Instagram. He's saying before the World Cup, he was told by Gregg that he was going to have a very limited role. And then he went on to acknowledge that his attitude wasn't good and it dropped. And he was able to resolve that with the team after coming and apologizing with the squad. And the issue was resolved. And he also took a jab at Gregg Berhalter in this by saying this was an issue that was supposed to be in-house, using Gregg's own words against him. Because why would he air out this dirty laundry? I just don't even know why, in the first place, you would come out and say this story. I think it's a situation of naivety from Gregg. He's got to be smart enough to understand that wasn't ever going to be an off-record conversation. It's going to get out. You're talking to 100 people. I don't know. It's a sticky situation, but I think the U.S. national team's fans have sort of made themselves clear through multiple avenues that this might be the straw that broke the camel's back on, get Gregg out of here. We can't have him. If you want to believe it, there's reports from somebody on Twitter saying that they know the players and that the camp is actually way more divided than you would imagine. He's saying that it's basically MLS versus European players. The European players don't even respect Gregg. And honestly, how could they? They're going to world-class clubs with world-class coaches. And then they come in for a few weeks with Gregg. And he hasn't done anything. He got fired from the second division in Sweden. Came to the MLS. Failure there. He didn't even have a 40% win rate at either team. And somehow these players are supposed to respect him. Especially when you're making fucking dumb decisions, like telling Gio Reyna before the tournament even starts, oh, no, we're not going to play you. You're going to have a limited role. I don't even understand how that could possibly help the team. It's a constant situation of Gregg Berhalter handicapping this team. Every opportunity he gets. At this point, we have to say, look at the group of players we got. Look at situations like this. He's not the only one. There's John Brooks, Matt Miazga, Weston McKennie had his issues. Christian Pulisic talked about him after the game versus Canada. This is our best core group. And if you listen to someone who claims to be close to the team, they're not even that unified, which is Gregg's main thing. And taking into consideration the circumstances about Gregg being hired with the nepotism, his brother, the CFO, involved in the hiring process, I think it's finally time. We have to be comfortable with the idea that we're going to part ways with Gregg. We had a decent World Cup. We didn't go out in the group. I would hope not with the talent that we had. It doesn't seem that hard to coach that particular group through our group stage. And then the true test, when you actually need a coach to help us out in the Netherlands, it's 3-1. Gregg gets embarrassed. And you can say, okay, yeah, it's good. Gregg was able to bring something to the team in the fact that we were able to play some sort of style. We never looked like we ever could make the adjustment out of playing our game into some game that would win when we needed to. But like I said, I think this Gio Reyna thing is just the straw that broke the camel's back for us U.S. national team fans about Gregg Berhalter. It is an absolutely unacceptable situation. I mean, and I'm not clearing Gio Reyna of all wrongdoing. I'm just saying that it's almost as if the whole situation could have been avoided by Gregg just at the very least saying, hey, we don't have a huge role planned for you in the Wales game, but let's see how you do in between now and then. Like, I don't understand why you're telling your players this before you even give them a chance to train. Because as Gio Reyna's report says it, unless he's lying, but I doubt he would be, at this point, he was told before the scrimmage that was before the Wales game that he was going to have a limited role. So now this is four days before the tournament's even going to kick off for us, and he's being told he's going to have a limited role. Why? What are you basing that off of? Club? Because if we're basing it off that, Gio should be in the conversation easily. Are you basing it off of previous national team performances? From when? And he was injured? I get it. Maybe he wasn't your first pick. But, you don't think your mind could change? Why would you tell him that? And I think that ironic part of it is Gregg going out trying to brag about his leadership skills and how he handled this issue. I think highlights his inexperience as a coach. I mean, that should have never came out in the first place. We shouldn't be talking about it right now. But it highlights maybe even a bigger problem, and it might be the first domino that falls in order for us to all understand that Gregg didn't have this team in the position that we thought. But I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this core group of players all can play together. I hope that it doesn't become a situation of MLS versus Europe, because at the end of the day, I think that these players can offer something to us, and we shouldn't count them out just because they're from the MLS. I mean, Walker Zimmerman, he was able to put in a performance when needed against Iran, made some very important headers. Going forward, we really need to analyze our options for the head coach of our team and really consider somebody who's dealt with world-class personalities, egos like Gio Reyna, who's going to be angry if they don't play. I would be angry if I'm genuinely regarded as one of the most talented players on the team, and the coach comes to me before I even really get to kick a ball in training and says, yeah, you know what, you're going to have a limited role. Fuck yeah, I'd be angry. Because I think the bigger problem would be if Gio Reyna wasn't angry. You have all that talent and no fire. So, at the end of the day, I think Gregg just exposed his inability to manage these egos and this team. And I think he's trying to lobby for a position for him to go back to Europe. So, I don't know. It's time to consider options and think hard about what we're going to do here and try our hardest to find the best coach. Because after that fiasco in 2018, the USSF response is to give us Gregg Berhalter in the most nepotism-filled hiring process I've ever seen. And that's supposed to be our savior. So we really got to get together and make sure that we make the right decision this time.